Now, I've seen a couple of posts on LinkedIn, and I would say that they are from people whose opinions I respect. And then I look at the answers in the comments to these LinkedIn posts, and again I just see the narrative. I see the narrative from both sides. I always look at the angle of what do these people have to gain by A, telling the story originally, and then B, commenting. First one was from Stephen Voigt, and he's sales director, North American BioX US. I've seen the story about this during the hurricanes. Lots of EVs not only were damaged and went into thermal runaway due to the water, but they also created a problem for the firefighters and also the cleanup afterwards. In this LinkedIn post, Stephen says, in Florida, there's an automotive salvage lot with 517 EVs total from Hurricane Milton. 2 years of stagnant motion, just awaiting for that small piece of parchment paper between the cells to disintegrate and cause thermal runaway. Now, I've seen quite a few fires just recently at scrapyards. It's electric vehicles. One went into thermal runaway nearly 12 months after the first time it went into thermal runaway. I've seen another post. It's all dependent on the battery as well. The ferocity of the fire depends on the state of charge of batteries. So it may be 2 cars can set fire, but show and leave completely different signs as to how the fire kind of originated and what caused it. Then there's a chap called Bruno Lucarelli. EV fire protection for your business, employees and customers, evsafetyproducts.com. This is what he has to say. 3 EV fleet fires in the last week destroy over 70 vehicles and injure several people. 20 civilians narrowly escaped serious injury or death in India yesterday when an EV retail showroom suffers a catastrophic thermal runaway fire. Over 100 units destroyed last month in a single EV thermal runaway fire in St. Louis, USA. EV charging station fires involving multiple cars are happening weekly. The question he asks, when will the industry wake up to the reality that you can't park, refuel and store electric vehicles as if they were combustion engine cars? You should be able to, shouldn't you? Because that means ferries, underground car parks, the Eurotunnel, anywhere that EVs are, garages, car showrooms, car compounds. Anywhere there's a congregation of EVs, I call it a thermal clusterfuck waiting to happen. Quick one. This bit isn't sponsored, but it is my personal recommendation. I use the high-low band for blood pressure tracking, and it's honestly been a godsend for me. Super easy to use, and I get a much more realistic picture than a one-off reading at the doctor. If you use my link, you get 20% off, plus a 12-month subscription, and I get £25 if your referral is successful. So, thanks if you do. The link's in the description. On with the video. He also goes on to say 70% of businesses that suffer from a serious fire declare bankruptcy in less than 2 years. Insurers are requiring updated risk management planning, but organisations are resisting. EV Safety Incorporated provides an inexpensive suite of EV fire safety equipment and online employee training to help your business prepare for the inevitable thermal runaway events that will happen no matter how careful you are. I tend to agree with that. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. By the way, this isn't a paid advert. Nobody's paying me to say this. Nobody's asked me to say this. This is something that I've picked up and I'm genuinely worried about. But it says here, call us now at 844 EV Fires to discuss how your business could be minutes away from a devastating EV fire event and how you can plan on surviving. From inexpensive firewall parking barriers to online employee safety awareness certification, they've got the real answers today. And that's evsafetyproducts.com. And right at the bottom, it always makes me laugh when I read this. It says, EVs are the future. Let's move ahead safely. I'm not so sure that EVs are the future. I think they're very, very temporary. And I think as soon as something better comes along, you won't see EVs. EVs will go the same way as flares did. If EV fires are still rare, Why do we keep seeing more of them happening? 3 EV fleet fires in a single week. More than 70 vehicles reportedly destroyed. Several people injured. 20 residents rescued after a fire at an electric vehicle showroom. And I did report on one fire last week that was in the ground floor, but the toxic smoke from the fire in the ground floor went up the stairwell, and they were in a high-rise building. The residents that were trapped up at the top couldn't come down the stairwell, so there was an adjacent high-rise building. The people there managed to make a ladder and an escape route for these people to come across, and the fire brigade helped them come across. You know, if you've got a couple of phobias like being frightened of being burnt alive, gassed, or you're afraid of heights, then you are in a real quandary. We all remember 9/11. I honestly think that something like that on perhaps a smaller scale could happen just with an EV going up in an underground car park. It's like the Unabomber. You don't have to take explosives with you. You can just walk into a car park. The explosives are already there. You just have to have the mindset to cause damage. And seemingly, especially in the UK, there are plenty of people that want to cause us harm. More than 100 vehicles were damaged in another fire that reportedly began with an electric car at a salvage yard in America. But apparently there's nothing to worry about, because every time another electric vehicle fire appears in the news, we're immediately given the same tired responses. Petrol cars catch fire too. Electric cars catch fire less often. Statistically, EV fires are extremely rare. But my question is, at what point does repeating the word rare stop being a meaningful safety argument? Because these incidents are happening. Businesses are being damaged. Vehicles are being destroyed. People are being evacuated. Firefighters are being injured and killed. Firefighters are having to adapt their equipment and procedures. Yet some electric vehicle supporters appear more interested in protecting the reputation of the technology than examining the consequences when the technology goes wrong. The post we're examining today was written by Bruno Lucciarelli. Bruno runs EV Safety Incorporated, a company selling fire prevention equipment, barriers and employee training to businesses handling electric vehicles. So let's deal with that immediately. Bruno is not an entirely impartial observer. He sells products designed to protect businesses from EV fires, so he clearly has a commercial interest in drawing attention to the risk. That should be disclosed, and his individual claims should still be checked. But having a commercial interest does not automatically make his underlying argument wrong. A locksmith makes money because people are concerned about burglary. That doesn't mean burglary is an imaginary problem. A fire alarm company makes money from the possibility of fire. That doesn't mean buildings never burn down, especially if there's an EV in them. The proper question is not whether Bruno sells safety equipment. The proper question is whether the danger he describes is genuine and whether businesses are adequately prepared for it. And on that central point, I think Bruno makes some very important observations. 3 fleet fires in 1 week. Bruno begins his post by claiming 3 EV fleet fires in the last week destroy over 70 vehicles and injure several people. Now also, let's get back to the petrol and EV fires. So 3 EV fires, 3 have destroyed 70 vehicles. So are we assuming that the other 67 were petrol and diesels, and they'll go down in the ICE fires column with just 3 EV fires? Makes you think, doesn't it? But also, several people were injured. I'd still like to see the individual incident reports before accepting every number without qualification. But the wider point deserves attention. A fire involving 1 vehicle on an open road is one problem. A fire involving a closely packed fleet is an entirely different risk. In a depot, showroom, auction compound, workshop, salvage yard, ferry or multi-storey car park, the danger is not limited to the vehicle in which the fire begins. The fire can spread, smoke can fill an enclosed building, escape routes can be cut off, Neighbouring vehicles can become involved. The entire site may have to be evacuated, and even after the visible flames have been controlled, a damaged lithium-ion battery may still require cooling, monitoring, isolation and specialist recovery arrangements. That's why simply comparing the number of EV fires with the number of petrol car fires doesn't answer the business risk question. An insurer doesn't merely ask, how frequently does it happen? It also asks, how much damage could it cause when it does happen? That's basic risk assessment 101, likelihood multiplied by consequence. A serious event doesn't become irrelevant simply because it's uncommon. Aircraft crashes are rare. Businesses still prepare for them. Chemical leaks are rare. Factories still have emergency procedures. Major warehouse fires are rare. Insurers still demand alarms, separation, sprinklers and evacuation plans. So why is discussing special precautions for electric vehicle battery fires so often treated as an attack upon electric vehicles? Bruno also referred to a fire at an EV showroom in India where around 20 civilians reportedly escaped serious injury or death. This can be independently traced to an incident in India on the 5th of June 2026. A fire broke out in an electric vehicle showroom, an attached repair centre on the ground floor of a 3-storey building. 20 residents from 6 families were rescued after the fire affected their escape routes. Thankfully, no casualties reported. But that doesn't make the incident unimportant. 20 people requiring rescue from a building because a fire's broken out beneath their homes is not something to dismiss. Yes, but petrol cars burn as well. Of course petrol cars burn. Everyone knows that. The question is whether storing, repairing and charging multiple electric vehicles beneath residential accommodation creates hazards requiring different planning, detection, separation and evacuation measures. The answer must surely be yes, it does. And this is where Bruno's argument's the strongest. He says electric vehicles can't always be parked, charged and stored as though they present precisely the same operational risk as combustion vehicles. That doesn't mean every EV is about to explode. It means businesses should understand the technology they're handling and plan for its particular failure modes. That's not fear-mongering. That's what responsible businesses are supposed to do. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Bruno also refers to more than 100 vehicles being destroyed in a fire near St. Louis. Reports concerning the April 2026 incident say a fire at a vehicle salvage yard damaged approximately 100 cars. The yard's operator says the incident began while workers were attempting to move a damaged electric Fiat, after which its battery went into thermal runaway. 11 fire companies reportedly attended, and the operation continued for more than 8 hours. Approximately 60,000 gallons of water were reportedly taken to the scene. Once again, this is why the glib comparison with an ordinary car fire is inadequate. This wasn't merely one car burning at the side of the road. It reportedly became a major salvage yard fire involving around 100 vehicles, numerous fire crews, heavy equipment and a prolonged firefighting operation. A damaged electric vehicle in a salvage yard is not the same proposition as an undamaged car sitting on someone's driveway. The battery may have been crushed, punctured, flooded, overheated or internally short-circuited. Its history may not be completely known. Moving it can potentially disturb already damaged cells, and once thermal runaway begins, the reaction can propagate from cell to cell inside a battery pack that firefighters may struggle to access directly. This doesn't prove that all electric vehicles are inherently unsafe, but it does prove that damaged electric vehicles require appropriate assessment, quarantine, spacing, monitoring and handling. That's exactly the type of preparation that Bruno's company sells. Yes, he benefits commercially from highlighting the issue, but after a fire damages approximately 100 vehicles, it's difficult to argue that the operational concern itself has been invented.